Are you tired of feeling like your stomach has its own agenda? Like the bloating, gas, or constant trips to the bathroom are running your life? Welcome to the Beyond Bloated podcast, the podcast where we tackle those frustrating gut issues head on, without strict diets or giving up your favorite foods. I'm Carly, a certified gut health coach who's been there, struggling with bloating that made me look 6 months pregnant, gut pain that kept me from enjoying meals, and fatigue so draining it felt impossible to get through the day. Now, I help women like you find freedom from those symptoms and take back control of their lives. Each week, we'll debunk gut health myths, dive into simple, actionable tips, and hear stories from women who've been exactly where you are. It's time to feel confident, energized, and bloat-free. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Beyond Bloated podcast, or welcome for the very first time. Today, I want to talk about my own developments, my own updates related to my gut health journey, because they're quite exciting, if you ask me. If you are new to the podcast or new to me, I'll give you a brief overview so you're not completely confused as to what I am talking about. So about 7-ish years ago, I developed severe food sensitivities to gluten, dairy, and a bunch of other foods as well, actually. I would get stabbing gut pains when I would eat. I would be running to the washroom with diarrhea. I looked 6 months pregnant every single day. Had a lot of other symptoms as well. If you listen to other episodes of my podcast, I talk about it throughout. But I have spent a lot of time and effort improving my gut health to the point where I now feel the best that I have ever felt in my whole entire life, which is why I obviously help other women do the same. It is a passion of mine. I know that it is something that can be done. And recently, I have been really testing that theory, or testing my gut, I guess. Seeing how far can we push it? How much have I truly healed my gut? Let's see what this bad boy can handle. So in today's episode, I am going to share those results with you and talk a little bit more about food sensitivities in general and what this means for you. Because food sensitivities are a thing that happen to a lot of people, and a lot of people think it is a life sentence. I have met with clients who have had food sensitivity testing done in the past and have followed that list of foods for years. After listening to today's episode, I think you're going to have a little bit of a different perspective on food sensitivities in general. I do want to start by giving a little bit more background information than my quick 30-second intro for anyone who doesn't know my story or for anyone who has forgotten, because it's a very important part of today's conversation. Let us rewind about 7-8 years ago to when my digestive issues began. Before then, I did have chronic fatigue, infections, UTIs, throat infections, canker sores all the time, horrific periods. I had symptoms, but they were not obviously gut related to me at that time. I ignored them, carried on living. And once I started my first full-time job as a data analyst, which I absolutely despised, that is when my gut issues started. I was 24, working in an office, 8:30 to 4:30 or something stupid like that. And I hated it. And about 2 to 3 months into that job, my gut quit on me. I was having excruciating stomach pain, bloating, diarrhea, alternating with constipation. It wasn't happening after every meal, but it was happening every day. So I was confused as to why this was happening all of a sudden. It was embarrassing. I worked in a small office and I was running to the washroom with diarrhea every single day. I'd be in there for way too long, and I was 24 years old. So not a great time for me. And that is what triggered me to start looking for answers, because I knew I couldn't continue living that way. The very first thing I did was try to eliminate gluten from my diet, because my mom was gluten and dairy free. So I thought, I've inherited this or whatever. So I cut out gluten, still felt terrible. Then I cut out dairy, still felt terrible. Didn't do them both at the same time, did one or the other. And then I decided I need a food sensitivity test to figure out exactly what I'm reacting to so I can eliminate it. Because obviously food is now the problem all of a sudden. So I found a naturopath around the corner from me who did food sensitivity testing. So I got that done, and my test lit up like a Christmas tree. And my naturopath said to me, "This is one of the worst ones I have ever seen. Stop eating all these foods." And it was not just gluten and dairy. Those were on there as well. It was also different sugars, different alcohols, different fruits, vegetables, otherwise healthy foods that I was allegedly reacting to. So right out the gate, at the very start of my gut health journey, I was handed a list of foods and told, stop eating these. These are causing you inflammation. These are causing you pain and diarrhea and bloating. This is the problem. Stop eating this and eat other foods instead. That was the message that was sent to me. And I believed that message for years after that. I just kept restricting my diet more and more. Because even when I cut out those foods on my original food sensitivity test, I was still having stomach pain and washroom blowups and bloating. They were less frequent, but they were still happening. So I thought, I must have to avoid more foods. There must be more foods that are a problem. What was happening behind the scenes that I didn't realize at the time was that I was putting a lot of stress on myself because I was trying to avoid so many foods, and I was very strict about it. I am a type A perfectionist type personality, so if I'm not doing it perfectly, what's the point of doing it? And that is how I approached this list. So I would go to my friend's place for the weekend and bring my own food and scrutinize the ingredients list of anything that she was trying to feed me. When I'd go out to restaurants, I would grill the waiter. What's in this? What's in this? Can you take this out? Add this? Nightmare guest if I was at your table. Any sort of event like weddings or baby showers, things like that, I was very nervous. I tried to bring my own food when I could. It was a lot to handle. And ultimately, I just had a lot of fear around food. It also became a part of my identity. I was the gluten and dairy-free girl. I could not have gluten or dairy, or basically I would be dead. So it was known to everyone, Carly's gluten dairy-free. That is who she is. Don't give her anything else because she will not touch it. I also avoided a million other foods too, but those were the two main things that most people could understand and wrap their head around. When I started throwing in other things like canola oil and brown sugar, I think I lost them at that point. That was a very stressful time period. So obviously my digestive system was not working well, but at the time I had no idea. I was probably that way for about 5 years. And by that way, I mean very strict with my diet, trying different elimination diets. I stayed gluten and dairy free the entire time, but I added things like grain-free, low FODMAP. I did a liver cleanse. I did the Candida cleanse 2 or 3 times. I was layering on additional elimination diets on top of already being gluten and dairy free. And one day I just woke up. I don't know what happened, but I was like, why am I doing this? This is insanity. I just keep restricting my diet and nothing changes. Nothing gets better. I'm still bloated every single day. I'm losing weight. I don't feel great. What if I just stopped? What if I just stopped eliminating eggs because I read it online somewhere? What if I just ate bananas and cauliflower again? What would happen? Let's find out. So I did. I just started eating a lot of the foods that I had previously eliminated for really no reason other than I saw it online or my food sensitivity test that I did years prior told me to avoid it. Nothing really happened. I was eating eggs again. I was eating red meat. I was eating fruits and vegetables, all of the things, and I was fine. And I was like, wow, that's great. Why was I avoiding all these foods for this long? However, I did not try to reintroduce gluten or dairy at that time. As I mentioned, it was kind of my identity. I was gluten and dairy free. That was my thing. So it didn't even cross my mind to try to eat those foods again until I planned a trip to Europe with my boyfriend, Liam. last fall, we went to Italy and Greece, and I had read that their food quality is better there. They use ancient grains. They don't use the same pesticides and chemicals on their food that we do. Their gluten and dairy is easier to digest. They use more A2 dairy opposed to A1. And so I was like, if I'm going to Europe, I need to eat their food. I can't go all that way, sit on a plane and torture myself for 8 hours and not eat pasta and pizza in Italy. Straight up is not happening. I did record an entire episode on my Europe gluten and dairy experimentation. So if you missed it, I recorded that before the November-December pause. So it was back in October when I came back from my trip that I gave that update. If you're interested, I'll link it in the show notes. The short version is that I went to Seattle for a concert with my sister-in-law last summer, and I had bought pasta that was imported from Italy. It was pure, organic, wheat semolina, whatever it was called. And I ate that at home before we went on the trip, and I was fine. And that was the first time in over 6 years that I purposefully ate gluten. And it was crazy to me. I was very nervous. I was trying to calm myself because I knew if I was anxious and stressed, it would cause digestive issues. So I did my best to prep my digestion and calm myself, and I ate the pasta, and I was fine. And that gave me the confidence to just full send it in Italy and Greece, and that I did. I ate gluten and dairy every single day while I was in Greece and Italy for 2 weeks. Pizza, pasta, pastries, gelato, wine even. I know that's not gluten or dairy, but still, I ate all of it, drank all of it, and nothing happened. I was totally fine the entire trip. Did get sick when we came back. I think that was not really to do with the food. I think that was more so the lack of sleep, all of the travel, the sick, gross people on the planes coughing their lungs out. That definitely contributed. I mean, I wasn't eating as nutritious as I was at home, which also probably contributed, but I don't think it was because I ate gluten and dairy. It felt so strange to just order whatever I wanted off of the menu and not have to think. I literally ate gluten and dairy every single day for 2 weeks after avoiding it so strictly for 7 years. I had been gluten and dairy free longer than I had been with Liam. And Liam and I have been together for almost 7 years now. So he was watching me eat gluten and dairy on this trip. And he was like, this feels wrong. This feels like I should be stopping you. Like you're going to hurt yourself. Because that was my identity. That was all he knew of me. In a almost 7 year relationship, he was like, you don't eat cheese. What are you doing? This is crazy. And it was crazy. But it was very freeing. And that trip was honestly amazing. So much fun. So delicious. No regrets. I'm so glad that I took that chance and just tried to eat the food because it definitely paid off. At first, my thought process was, obviously I can eat gluten and dairy in Europe because those countries in particular use the better quality food and all the things I already said. So I thought, yeah, I can eat it there, but I can't eat it in Canada. So that sucks. I wish we could move to Italy because then life would be great. But we have to go back home to Canada. And everyone told me the same thing. Oh, yeah, we can eat gluten and dairy in Europe, but not here, etc. And I do think there is some truth to that. They obviously do use ancient grains and better quality food and less chemicals, but you're also on vacation. You're more relaxed. You're less stressed out. You don't have work on the brain. You're there to have a good time. And stress impairs digestion significantly. There's also the factor that since everybody says, oh yeah, I could eat gluten and dairy in Europe and it was fine, you kind of already go in with the mindset of, I can probably eat this and it's fine. So you're not scared. You're not afraid of what is this meal going to do to me? You're thinking, I'm on vacation. Other people can eat gluten here. So can I. So you're confident. You don't have that fear. You're on vacation. You're stress-free. So your digestive system is probably working a lot better than it is when you're just living your everyday life. After getting home from Europe and recovering from the disgusting sickness that Liam and I both had, I started thinking about that. I was like, who's to say that I can only eat gluten and dairy in Europe? Who's to say that I haven't strengthened my gut lining and repaired leaky gut and reversed all of my food sensitivities? What if I can eat whatever I want in Canada as well? So I started putting that to the test. The first test came in November for Liam's birthday. He wanted tacos from a nearby taco place, and they do have gluten and dairy-free options, which I did get, but I specifically wanted the steak taco, and that one did not come in a gluten-free version, but I ordered it anyway. I thought, what the hell? I'm going to have mostly gluten and dairy-free food. I'm going to have one steak taco that has gluten in it. So I ordered it. It came in a flour tortilla, not corn. I don't actually know what else was in it. I just ate it. And I was fine. Nothing happened. Then about a month or so later, we were downtown Victoria, and I really wanted to go to this gluten-free sourdough restaurant, bakery type place that everything there is made out of gluten-free sourdough, but they use real dairy in a lot of their stuff. And I love their pizza, but they don't have dairy-free cheese. And I've had their pizza before, and I just removed the cheese. But that's not really a pizza, is it? So I thought, what the hell? Let's leave the cheese on it this time. So my pizza was gluten-free sourdough, but it had real mozzarella cheese on it. I ate half the one day, the other half the next day. Nothing happened. I was totally fine. So then a couple weeks later, for Pizza Friday, I went to the grocery store and I bought a frozen pizza. Again, it had a gluten-free crust, but it had real dairy on it. Real dairy cheese. Ate half of it the one day, half of it the next day. Nothing happened. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I was not at all nervous for these experiences. I have intentionally avoided gluten and dairy for 7 years. I'm only 31. That's a large portion of my life.
Okay, pause for a second. Have you taken my bloat personality quiz yet? It's totally free and honestly, freakishly accurate. This quick 2-minute quiz will help you figure out exactly which habits and patterns are behind your bloating, the ones no one ever talks about, and it gives you personalized, simple steps you can start using today to feel less bloated and more comfortable in your jeans. If you've ever wondered, why am I always bloated, even when I eat healthy, this quiz is your first clue. Head to beyondbloated.com/bloat-personality-quiz, or the link is in the show notes. Take the quiz and then send me your result. I love seeing which bloat personality everyone gets. Now, let's get back to the show.
Yes, I ate gluten and dairy in Europe for 2 weeks. But again, I had that mindset too, that other people can eat gluten and dairy here, so I probably can, but I still can't eat it at home. So doing this experiment was nerve-wracking for me, and I really tried to be calm and just think, if I don't feel well, that's okay. I'm at home. I won't eat it again, but I was hopeful, and it still is a struggle for me to get over that identity, even though I have tested gluten and dairy in Canada and I've been fine. I still struggle to just eat what I want without thinking about, am I sensitive to this? Is this going to cause me pain? Is this going to have repercussions for my bowels? Like, these things that go through my mind because it's been so long, and it is hard to just turn that off. For example, I was out at brunch with a friend the other day, and we were at a good, high-quality brunch restaurant, and they had sourdough as the bread option, and I was so close to just getting the sourdough. But something in my brain said, no, you're out in public, you're with someone. What if the sourdough triggers you? You shouldn't have it. You should have the gluten-free bread. And so I did. And then a part of me now regrets that because I'm like, well, if I can eat it again and I wanted it, why didn't I just have it? But it's hard to get over that shift. It's hard to just eat it again if you avoided it for so long, because I do still have some PTSD from back in the day. And I also don't want to put myself back in that situation. I want it to be clear that I have no desire to go back to eating how I used to. The pizza bagels, the pogo sticks, the takeout burgers. That is not my desire. I would just like to be able to have a nice sourdough bread at brunch if I want it, or get the steak taco for a birthday event if I want it. Put real cheese on my pizza if dairy-free is not an option and not have to worry. I'm actually very okay with eating gluten and dairy-free most of the time. I'm used to it. I like the food. It's fine. It's just having that freedom without having to be in fear of what's going to happen to me if this actually isn't gluten or dairy-free is very freeing. And having options is obviously really nice. The main reason why I wanted to share this experience with you guys is to prove to you that food sensitivities are symptoms and not root causes. If you are reacting to foods out of the blue, it is not because the food is now the enemy and you need to avoid that indefinitely. It means your digestive system needs a little TLC so that it can digest food again in general. The state and capacity of your digestive system matters a lot more than ingredients. And by avoiding foods that trigger you, yes, that can help reduce inflammation temporarily to help you speed up the recovery process or help improve your digestion quicker. But just simply avoiding foods and changing nothing else about your lifestyle, your habits, or even your diet is not going to give you the results you're looking for. Stress and your nervous system also play a huge role. If you find that on vacation you can eat more foods, that's a clear sign that stress is playing a massive role in your food sensitivities. If you're someone who's always rushing about and never sitting down for a meal, you're always thinking about work or something is on your mind, stress is definitely impairing your digestive system, and you need to work on some stress management techniques. Overall, I just want to point out that your body is not broken if you are reacting to foods, and it can change. You do not need to avoid those foods forever. If you are just blindly following a foods list that was handed to you years ago, you likely don't need to avoid those foods anymore. That is no longer relevant. I did an episode last week on why I do not believe gut testing should be the first thing you do in your gut health journey, because it can lead you down this spiral of food fear, restriction, and that's what happened to me. So I'll link that episode in the show notes as well, so you can go check that one out. But just please keep in mind, whenever you have a reaction after a meal, it is not the food that is the problem. It is the container, which is your digestive system, that is struggling to handle that food. The things that helped me the most in allowing my body to become more tolerant to more foods again are things like not restricting my diet. When I had that epiphany moment of, why am I avoiding eggs? Because some idiot on the internet said to? Okay, I'm going to eat them again and see what happens. I ate 4 eggs for lunch yesterday. I literally never reacted to eggs, and I didn't eat them for probably over a year. So think about why you are avoiding foods. If you're avoiding them because someone told you to do it and you don't actually notice you react to it, try eating it again. See what happens. Eating regular meals. I never skip a meal. Never. I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day, and I try to eat those meals around the same time every single day as well. I'm usually pretty successful at that because my body is in a rhythm and my digestive system knows when to expect food, and I feel hungry around those times. And I don't ignore my hunger signals. If I'm hungry, I'm eating. Working on regulating stress was a huge one for me because I was not someone who thought I was stressed. I didn't feel anxious or stressed out on a regular basis, but I was stressing my body out unintentionally. And I was also carrying stressors. I just show them differently, I suppose. Like I said, I do have that perfectionist personality. I have a lot of high expectations that I put on myself. I put a lot on my plate. I'm very task oriented, and trying to get as much done as humanly possible in a day is very overloading to your nervous system. Not taking breaks, just pushing through and doing more and more and more. I was very guilty of that. So I have since slowed down. My mornings are slow. I no longer wake up and reach for my phone first thing in the morning. I don't even touch my phone until after breakfast. I go for a midday walk after lunch as much as I possibly can to help me chill, reset, and be good to go for the rest of the day. I take a few deep breaths before I eat my meals, and I always eat my meals at a table, sitting without distractions. I don't need the stress of emails and social media while I'm trying to digest a meal, and that all works for me. What works for you might be different, but you should have something, some tool that helps you regulate stress, because you can't eliminate stress. Life is life. Stress is a thing, but you can manage it better and adapt to it better. Optimizing things like my sleep, movement, getting enough protein in at meals, fiber as well, and making sure my blood sugar was balanced by eating balanced meals at those 3 regular meal intervals that I have every single day. I used to have a horrific sleep schedule that messed me up significantly. You will be inflamed if you are not sleeping enough, or if your sleep is disrupted, if you're going to bed at crazy hours. That will cause inflammation, and that will also cause stress in the body. That will cause leaky gut, and leaky gut is the start of food sensitivities. So making sure you are sleeping well, moving your body in a supportive, gentle way, not doing crazy HIIT 7 days a week, walking, yoga, stretching, weightlifting. You can do HIIT, sure, just I wouldn't recommend doing it as your main source of activity if you have digestive issues. Working on digestive habits is also very important. Things like chewing really well. Your gut doesn't have teeth. You got to chew your food, or you're sending massive hunks of food down to the gut where it really can't break that down and digest it very well. Slow down. Get off screens. Sit away from your desk. Take your time. If you need digestive supports, things like bitters, enzymes, apple cider vinegar and water before meals can help stimulate digestion. You don't necessarily need some sort of crazy supplement protocol. These things are all gentle, they're relatively inexpensive, and they just help support what your body's already trying to do on its own while you work on improving it so it can do it better on its own. And finally, work on changing your mindset around food. As I mentioned, this is still one I'm working on. I've come a long way, but I still get a little nervous if I'm trying to get the sourdough bread at brunch when my brain is telling me you're gluten-free, you can't have that. So this takes time and practice. Start by trying to reintroduce the foods that you don't even know why you're avoiding them. That's where I started, and it gave me some confidence. I'm like, oh, I can actually tolerate a lot more than I thought. And if you work on all the other things I just mentioned, you're improving your digestive capacity, so you will be able to eat more foods within time. I want to point out that I did not reverse my food sensitivities with a massive supplement stack or a specific elimination diet. I supported my body through all those things that I just talked about so that it could handle more. I do believe that eliminating gluten and dairy at the start of my journey was necessary. I don't take that back. I was very clearly reacting to gluten and dairy. That was an inflammation response. That was an immune response from my body, and it needed to be done. Did I need to avoid it for 7 years? I don't think I did. But what's done is done. It's okay. I definitely did not need to restrict further and further, which I kept doing. And if you are still looking for that perfect elimination diet, I really hope this helped you see that that is not the long-term solution. And by improving your habits, that is where you are going to find that your digestion improves and you can tolerate more foods. I have worked with dozens and dozens of women at this point, and I can assure you that food fear is very common. So if you are experiencing food fear, you are not alone. It is very common, especially in women. I think we have been taught and trained to fear food because it's going to make us gain weight, or it's going to cause us to have diarrhea or bloating, or we're not going to feel good. And in some cases, it does cause us that sort of symptom. So the connection can be easily made, but I want you to know that it's not permanent. You do not need to fear food forever. Your current reactions to food does not define your future reactions, which can be none. I am living proof that you do not need to live in restriction forever. I encourage you to slowly retest foods again when you feel ready. And it's okay if you find that your body isn't there yet. If you try to reintroduce a food, you don't feel great, that's okay. That is a signal from your body that digestion still needs some more work. This is a journey. It's not a race. You can get there, and I would be happy to support you in that if you are looking for help. I am currently working with a small group of women in my group program, the Bloat Free Method. This is the first round that I am running of this, and it's going super well. I'm loving it, and so are all the other women in the group. This round has closed. It's a 6-week program. However, I do plan to run it again in the future. So if you want support with a community of women who are also trying to achieve similar goals as you, this is the place to be. I will drop the waitlist for my group program in the show notes. You can also head to my website, beyondbloated.com, and I will alert you when the next round is opening, and you will also get priority access to join that group before I open enrollment to the public, because I do like to keep it small so that I'm able to best support all the women in that group. If you have any questions or comments about today's episode, feel free to email me, carlyclose@beyondbloated.com. Send me a DM on Instagram @beyond.bloated. If you want to be anonymous, you can send me a text using the link in the show notes that says send me a text. I will not see your phone number, your name, or anything about you. Also can't reply to you, but I could reply on a future episode if it requires it. And with that, I want to leave you on one last positive note, a reminder that your body is 100% adaptable, and you are allowed to change what you believe about food. I have changed my beliefs and mindset around food and gut health a million times because I'm continuously learning, gathering new information, and adapting. You can do the same. I would love to support you in that. Reach out to me, or otherwise, I'll be talking to you next week. Did you learn something new and useful today? If the answer is a big, resounding hell yeah, do me a favor. Subscribe to this podcast. Even better, toss a rating in there too. It helps more bloated babes discover this show and lets me keep bringing you this free, gut-loving content every single week. And hey, don't be greedy. Share this episode with your bestie who's always unbuttoning her pants after dinner. She will love you even more for it. Thanks for hanging out with me and showing your gut some love. Keep on putting what you learn into practice, and you will be bloat-free in no time. Catch you in the next one. Bye!